Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. And today's video going to be a wee update on all of the various transfer stories of players coming to Celtic potentially, and also a wee roundup of several names of players who have recently been released by their English Premier League clubs, several of which have been previously on Celtic's radar as being potential signings. Before we crack on with the video, please just do consider, if you haven't already, clicking subscribe to the channel, click the like button if you like the video, and also do feel free to pop your comments regarding Celtic, this video, and other related issues into the comment section. We can have a nice chat amongst like-minded Celtic fans. Please do keep those comments, however, within the rules and laws of Scotland in terms of what can be shared in public forums, and please keep things all polite, respectful, etc. So, the big news coming out of Celtic is that Celtic are in very active negotiations with Benfica for the signing permanently of Paulo Bernardo. Paulo Bernardo apparently is very keen to come back to Celtic and does see his future being much brighter at Celtic than at Benfica. Benfica, their current manager, does not really see Paulo Bernardo being in his first team squad for next season, but Brendan Rodgers very much does so. There was, of course, a clause in his recent loan contract which meant Celtic could have him for £6 million. And it does appear that Celtic aren't keen to pay such a large fee, and negotiations appears to be Celtic are offering £3 million now, with a further £500,000 after a set number of appearances, and a 30% sell-on clause. That 30% sell-on clause quite similar to what we negotiated with Benfica for the Jota deal a couple of years ago, although the Jota fee was over £6 million. Thought that Benfica may well ask Celtic to go to £4 million plus the 500,000 add-on fee, and I think personally that a compromise of £4.5 million in total would be entirely reasonable for Paulo Bernardo. Do think he is a player who could fit in well at Celtic. And there are stories that Rodgers very much sees him as being a midfield starter for next season, especially if Matt O'Reilly moves on. And interestingly, Rio Hitati in the recent Japanese internationals has been playing in the attacking midfielder role, more of the role that O'Reilly's been playing for Celtic in the last couple of seasons, which would then mean Paulo Bernardo fitting into the Rio Hitati role, which he did regularly last season with good success on many occasions. So we'll follow that deal. It could well be that by the time the transfer window opens a week this Friday, that everything will be done and dusted and ready for him to be signed just as the transfer window opens. Another player that Brendan Rodgers is apparently very keen to get to Celtic is Scott McKenna, left-sided Scottish centre-back who had been playing for Notts Forest, fell out with Notts Forest management, then was on loan for the remainder of last season with FC Copenhagen, which got him some Champions League experience as well. He's now been released from his contract by Notts Forest, and so he's now a free agent and so could sign for Celtic for nothing. His apparent salary at Notts Forest was just £20,000 per week, which would fit well into Celtic's current wage structure. 27 years old, obviously quite considerable experience internationally, a couple of seasons in the English Premier League, and as I said, just recently some Champions League experience with Copenhagen, and he would fit that left-sided centre-back role. I do feel he's probably a bit of an upgrade on Liam Scales, but I personally like a younger, quicker player in that position. Scott McKenna, of course, would fill the quota role of being a Scottish player, and so that will help Celtic with their Champions League homegrown and Scottish player numbers, which have to be 8 in the squad. So we'll follow that. In the past, McKenna has been said to be keen to come to Celtic, but instead chose to go to Not Forest. There were again rumblings in the recent winter window, but that seemed to fall through, and McKenna instead went to Copenhagen on loan for the second half of the 23-24 season. Number of other players just recently released from English Premier League clubs, several of whom have been linked with Celtic in the past, namely Japhet Tangana, who's a 25-year-old centre-back. He's played a number of games for Spurs, been sent off on loan to various different teams. I personally don't know very much at all about Tangana, but it is said that Celtic, under Ange Postecoglou in his Celtic days, was very actively looking at Tangana, another player that Rodgers and Ange Postecoglou were both linked with before as Celtic managers is Ryan Sessegnon, left back, who may, now that he is been released by Spurs, it may be that Rodgers rekindles his interest in bringing Sessegnon to Celtic to be a rival to Greg Taylor. My personal feeling is that Sessegnon is not the best of defenders at left back and is much more of a wing back or even wide left player, and so I'm not convinced that Sessegnon would improve Celtic's defence in the left back role, and so personally wouldn't be terribly keen for Celtic to pursue Sessegnon as our player. Another couple of interesting names that would fill roles that Celtic are looking for: Loris Karius, 30-year-old goalkeeper previously of Liverpool and more recently Newcastle. He's had his contract ended at Newcastle and released. He's just 30 years old, has obviously got high-level experience, and so would be an interesting replacement for Joe Hart, although Karius's game for Liverpool in the Champions League still is very strong in my memory, and to me, I think he's a wee bit of a flaky, erratic goalkeeper, and wouldn't be terribly keen for Celtic to sign him either. One other interesting name is Bobby de Cordova-Reid, played for Fulham in recent years, Jamaican international. He kind of fulfills the role of playing right wing, left wing, and as a striker. 31 years old. Has played a number of years for Fulham and for other clubs. Have to say, his record last year at Fulham: 41 games, 7 goals, 4 assists. Only 5'7", so a bit of a Kyogo clone. And over his career, 440 games, 69 goals, and so one goal per 6 games. Not really the kind of output we're looking for. However, it's a name that has been tentatively linked as being a potential Celtic signing as a backup to Kyogo. I personally wouldn't be terribly keen, but as there has been several stories in the press regarding that, I thought it better to cover it. Talking of our goalkeeper situation, there has been no movement in terms of all the various goalkeepers linked to Celtic. Asmir Begovic, currently leaving Queen's Park Rangers as his contract has ended, but he now seems keener to sign again for Queen's Park or for English Championship side, but he said he hasn't ruled out going to Celtic. Kelleher on Liverpool seems destined to be leaving Liverpool this summer. However, his transfer fee that Liverpool are looking for is 20 million plus, and so not really a kind of player that Celtic would be looking to sign. And apparently, Wolves are lining up a bid for him this summer in the 20 to 25 rate region, and Notts Forest in the winter window. We're also looking at a similar bid, and so they may get back in for him now that they've managed to stay in the English Premier League. One other player being linked to Celtic is Daniel Peretz, coming to Celtic on loan from Bayern Munich. There do appear to be quite a number of other teams looking to loan Peretz for next season, and I don't see that personally as being a goer. And one final bit of news relating to Celtic is the Scottish Premier League have released that they have signed a 20 games per season deal with Premier Sports that will be starting at the start of the 24-25 season. That dovetails with Sky Sports, who have increased their coverage to 60 games per season in the Scottish Premiership. And not very clear when these games on Premier Sports are going to be. Are they going to be Saturday lunchtime, Sunday lunchtime, Saturday tea time, Sunday tea time, maybe Sunday evening, or even a Monday night game? Several of those slots would put them obviously up against the Sky Sports coverage of the English Premier League, and so looking for confirmation exactly when Premier Sports would be scheduling these Scottish Premiership matches, but one would expect that many of those games will involve Celtic and Rangers, and so it could well be we're having our fixtures yet again moved all over the place to accommodate one or other of the TV channels. Premier Sport are going to be carrying on covering the Scottish FA Cup and the Scottish League Cup for several more seasons, and so this is additional coverage of Scottish football, and is worth an extra £10 million per year, which is handy money for the top clubs, especially those who don't have access to Champions League and Europa League TV money. So that just about finishes things off for today. As I said at the start of the video, please do consider clicking that subscribe button if you haven't already, like button if you've liked the video, and do feel free to pop your comments in the comment section. So at the moment, just waiting for some updates on whether Benfica are happy with the 3 million plus 500,000 add-ons plus the 30% future transfer fee share, or whether they're looking for more than that. I think given the fact that Benfica have expressed publicly that Bernardo's not part of their plans for next season, would suggest that that fee of 3.5 million might well prove to be a successful bid for Bernardo. And as I said right at the start of the video, he is apparently very keen to come back to Celtic and sees his future at Celtic for the next few years at least. So for today, thanks for watching and listening. Goodbye and hail, hail.